Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Bow and Arrow Tarot. Today we're going to get into the January love reading for the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio, you're up next. You are one of my favorite readings because your readings are always so intensive. So let's get right into it. This is going to be a Celtic spread for one situation into the looking into the love life of a Scorpio. So it's only one reading. It can't resonate for everyone. So if it's not for you, if it doesn't relate to you, if none of it makes sense to you, then it's not for you, right? It may only resonate with just a few people out there. And you can check your other planets as well. This is for Sun and Scorpio, but it could be for Moon and Scorpio, Venus, Scorpio rising, even Mars and Scorpio. Mars placement is also important to check out. So you can check out those readings as well. Let's get right into it, Scorpio. Straight out we have Four of Wands. Wow. Covered by Justice. Ten of Swords. Page of Swords. Wow. Huh. Okay. You have a Four of Wands coming into the month. Ooh, and another four coming out of the month. You have the Moon, Two of Pentacles, Ace of Swords, your position for your hopes and dreams, and your outcome is Six of Pentacles. All right, some of you dealing with money issues this month. Your financial issues are certainly making you feel some kind of way. Sun is at the bottom of the deck. Let's put that over here. All right. So we have Sun at the bottom of the deck. Very nice. And I'm just laughing because your readings just, you know, they always are so interesting to me. And again, we're talking about the end of a long time of struggle, Scorpio, right? And this is, you know, it's not funny, but it's like you guys are so intensive, right? That you really have these lives. And it just doesn't cease to amaze me that your readings always usually have some kind of swords energy like this, like a Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords, again, is the end of a period of struggling. You know, you've once again had to go through a period of struggle. You know, and this is a constant theme with a lot of Scorpios, certainly for the readings in my collective, right? But it's the end of it, so we're gonna get to that. And it's a good feeling, right? So I'm laughing also because it feels good because it's the end of it, but it's just not a surprise, you know, that Scorpios yet again had to go through something quite difficult. Four of Wands is at the center and Justice card covers you, you know. So this is beautiful. You have 3 4s. Well, you have a 6 here, but you have 2 4s in the center, right? It's interesting that your Four of Wands is coming out again. Four of Cups keeps coming out for you, but this is your 1111 card. And of course, it's seeking this stable relationship, right? It's Venus and Aries energy. Wanting this new love, right? It's a new connection. Generally, Four of Wands indicates a new connection that starts off quite stable, or a connection that has stabilized very, very quickly, right? Because it is Venus and Aries energy, and so Aries is the one who kind of drives forward, and it really oftentimes indicates a new beginning, you know, conquering new territory is what is associated with Aries energy. And so Venus and Aries always indicates like a new beginning in love that's very beautiful, but it's also very stable. 4 is the number for stability. And this is one of the reasons why this is the Twin Flames journey card, because it starts off with such stability and mutual respect and focus, right? Where 2 people come together and they really have the same focus, but they also give each other exactly the same amount of respect and love. And this is oftentimes very hard to find. You can work up to that kind of interaction, but oftentimes it's hard to find somebody that who really respects you as much as you would like to respect them. You know what I mean? Someone that has a moral fiber and everything else, and at the same time the attraction is there and everything else. It's immediate stability in a relationship, and it sets you off for those kind of twin flame journeys when you meet somebody where right away it clicks. You know what I mean? Right away it works. Right away you guys are ready to celebrate. Right away, you're committed. And so this is this kind of love that all of us are always talking about and looking for, the 1111, the twin flame, right? But you're covered with justice. And justice card, it is a card for Libra, but it also indicates a feeling of things being kind of out of balance, right? An energy this month of rebalancing coming in, right? It could also be for some of you Scorpios, you might actually be waiting for some kind of official notice coming in, because justice a lot of times can indicate also, like, in the actual real world, a feeling of, here, let me get these straight for you, a feeling of sort of like a business or document that has to come in, or an official document that has to come in, or a rendering or decision. That is all really much associated with justice. And so when justice card comes up, a lot of times there's something quite sort of part of the official world that you're waiting for or you're needing to come in, which will help to rebalance the situation. Sometimes it can be a job type of situation, right? Like a promotion that you're waiting for, something like that. Or it can sometimes be like a court decision for payment. But when we talk about a love situation, sometimes it can also indicate something that frees you to start a new love, like a divorce or a separation, right? That can also come in with justice. In any case, it's events that come in to sort of rebalance your life and allow your life to progress, right? And so that's what justice is all about. And so you come in this month with this Ten of Swords and a Page of Swords, in the back of your mind. In front of your mind, you have Ten of Swords. So in front of your mind, you're very much at the end of a long road of sort of taking a lot of blows to your ego. You finally transcended that. It's the end of it. The old you has finally sort of died under all of this all of these swords, right? All of these different events. The image there is symbolic of sort of a stage in your life where a lot of events have happened that have kept cutting you down, things that you had to deal with, things that were a blow to the ego, perhaps the way people have treated you, perhaps things that have happened at work, or things that have happened in love as well. This is a love reading. But these are all like what the swords kind of represent. And that the figure there is like your ego, right? And so when we come to the Ten of Swords, and I'm explaining this because a lot of times this card is a little bit misinterpreted, right? But it's more than just an end, right, to something. It's also very much you're transcending too, because at the end, the old you is dead there. It's very much of like kind of it's a strong ending to a time in your life where you really learned something about yourself, right? And your ego and your vision or how you see yourself has really changed. When we talk about love, it could be that you recently perhaps have gotten out of a relationship where you had to go through a lot of this, right? Or you could be coming to the end of a period in your life where you've had multiple relationships that made you feel like this, where you always felt like sort of in some kind of ego play, or there was some kind of strife there, there was bad communication. So it's the end of that, right? And this is how you're feeling. And I think that this is another reason why you're calling it this Four of Wands energy, like this feeling of being really ready for a healthy relationship, a balanced relationship, because it could be that right now some of you Scorpios have learned whatever lessons you needed to learn from that time, and you finally sort of integrated that experience. And now you're just wanting a different kind of interaction. And so in the back of your mind, you have Page of Swords. And Page of Swords is kind of really cutting away self-doubt. So for some of you, the impact of this period, or I want to say the impact of the end of this kind of period in your life, is coinciding with you also sort of really thinking about being more positive, right? Not having so much anxiety or so much sort of negative thinking. The Page of Swords is all about sort of fighting against that, like being really intentional about fighting against sort of like the things that make you depressed, the thoughts that make you depressed. You know what I mean? The type of behavior that you regret. You know what I mean? Self-doubt. All of that comes from like it comes from fear ultimately. They're all sort of different manifestations of fear, so And the Page of Swords also talks about cutting that away for others too. So for those of you who have been perhaps around people who have sort of triggered you in that way, you're now much more, thinking about like not putting up with that. You know what I mean? You're much more thinking about like, look, I'm not going to allow people to sort of make me feel a certain way about what I want to do, or make me feel like I can't succeed, right? And so the page is very much, all the pages in the suits, they're associated with earth, actually. And so here we have the earthy aspect of sort of the mental. So you're being really practical about it. You're actually saying what you mean, and what you mean, you're standing up to people, or you're letting people know, look, I don't need to hear the negativity, things like that, right? Pages are also associated, all of the pages are associated with overcoming fear in that suit. And so Page of Swords is very much all about that, this overcoming of fear that you perhaps had when you were talking to people, or when you were involved in relationships. It could be that one of the reasons you were having such a lot of this sort of turmoil for quite some time is because of a lot of fear that you were exhibiting in your relationships. Maybe the way you were communicating, right? Or maybe the type of person you were with and the way you were allowing them to communicate with you. Whatever the case may be, it's all this month kind of rebalancing itself because you're coming out of it and you have Page of Swords here. So it feels really nice, it's really good. Six of Wands comes out, and Four of Cups. So Six of Wands is a victory. It's a really public victory. So you start your month off, and I do apologize for this reading coming out late. I had so many readings to do, and then I got burnt out. I had to take a break. And in any case, though, we are on January 9th is the day that I'm doing this reading. And so you may have already experienced this, some of you who are resonating with this reading. Maybe towards the beginning of the month, you had already a victory that came in. And you can see it's really public. Everybody's got their eye on him. They're like, you're the shit, you're awesome. And it feels like a vindication. It feels really harmonious as well. And it could be that somewhere along the line, this sort of victory is what's kind of spurring your confidence on to open up for this kind of love connection, right? It's interesting because I don't know who this love connection is. It could be somebody new coming into you, or it could be somebody that you've been slowly working towards having a relationship. You've already known them for some time, and now this month you're really thinking about it. But it almost seems as though a lot of this stuff was in the way, right? This needed to happen, right? This Ten of Swords, this end of this period and this new way of thinking needed to happen for you to be able to properly call this in, right? So the timing is quite interesting because it seems quite immediate, right? So it could be for some of you that you may already be in a relationship that and you kind of went through this, right, on your own. This was like a separate healing that you needed to do on your own, and you were already in a good relationship, and you're kind of able to fix it, if it was maybe going off the rails because of all of this that you were going through, right? So, in any case, it's interesting that the timing is very immediate with this Four of Wands at the center. Could also be for some of you that you're just really ready now for this, right? It could be that this relationship hasn't necessarily come in yet, and it's going to come in very soon, right? But it's just a case of you just being ready for it. So for some of you who weren't really ready to be in a relationship for a while, it's like right now this victory is really giving you a lot of confidence to start calling it in, right? Interestingly enough, though, you have a Four of Cups here. This is how your month rounds out. And Four of Cups is very much like, I don't want a cup of love now. So it's almost like it could be that by the end of January, you're feeling a little bit like you're being much more discerning. It could be that friends are trying to help you as well, and you're not taking their help. Right? Because if you're open to a love connection here, which is the Four of Wands, why would you not take a cup of love from your lover? Could be that for some of you, by the end of the month, you're saying, well, look, okay, I am open, right? I'm open to this, but somebody's offering you their cup, right? But you're just not sure. And you're just like, look, I'm open to a real connection. If you're not going to show me like what I'm going to get for this cup, because it looks pretty much like all the other cups I've been through, then I'm going to just wait until you're ready to show me a little bit more, or until you're ready to prove to me. A lot of times I call this my show and prove card, because 4 is the number for stability. Like I said here with the 4 of Wands, it's a lot of stability coming in. And here it's like, okay, you know, now I'm stable. You know, I don't need to get involved with somebody who's going to, you know, screw my stability up again. You know, who's just going to... And so in a lot of... It's interesting that for some of you, by the end of the month, you're just saying no to either people trying to help you or trying to sort of maybe... Could be friends who might be trying to come in and tell you something about a relationship and you don't want to hear about it. But it could also just be that maybe you have met somebody and by the end of the month you're kind of like, okay, yeah, you know what I mean? Just because I'm open to this doesn't mean the next thing right away is me taking whatever comes in. And there's a strong feeling of that too. And it could be also that this victory is just making you feel really much more discerning. Like, yeah, you're like, look, I don't want to go back to just... You know, the same type of relationships that I was in before that was cut constantly, you know, because you learned something here. 10 of Swords is all about learning something. So here it almost feels like you're putting that into practice. Like you're being much more discerning about the type of people that you're interacting with, right? Moon energy and 2 of Pentacles. So that's interesting. You're coming to the month with this attitude. This is your attitude towards love. And this is the energy that kind of meets you head on, right? And the moon is like really all about a testing phase. So it's really very much testing your resolve, I think. Like testing, have you really learned something? Like this whole new idea here with you about the way you're sort of changing the way you're thinking about things, being less fearful, being more positive, having a better self-image about yourself, and so therefore you're being more positive to communicate with. You're out of this period of struggling, and yet you have this feeling of being very sort of unsure. You know, the moon is your attitude that you have towards love, and it seems like it's a very sort of mysterious feeling you're having this month, like you're really not sure where you want to go, you know, with it. Or perhaps there is this could also be a certain scenario that you're in already, Scorpio, and you're kind of like, you have no idea what's happening, right? It could be that this love connection, this might be a love connection you were already in, right? And things kind of went off the rails, right? And you still love them, right? And right now you don't, because this moon energy seems to suggest a lot of emotionality, but then also a lot of sort of unknowns, a lot of fear, a feeling of being tested. And to have this come in like this as your attitude, yet your center card is 4 of Wands, it really begs the question that for some of you Scorpios, are you already in a connection with someone that you really find to be your strong soulmate? But perhaps things haven't gone, like you may not have solidified this relationship because of the need for all of this rebalancing that came in, right? Because now this January, your attitude is one of really not knowing what's next. You know, the moon really is kind of a time where you have to take things on faith. And a lot is not known, you know, you don't get a lot of information. It's a testing period, you know, our faith is tested, our resolve in ourselves and our faith in the things that we've learned is tested in a lot of ways because we don't really know what's going to happen next. So, you know what I mean? And yeah, it almost feels like that. It could be very much that by the end of the month as well, this might be another reason that you have this 4 of Cups. People may be coming into you, but you're just not interested in them right now because you're still trying to figure out what's going on with this connection here. What comes back to you is a lot of change, a lot of financial change. So it's interesting, there's a financial component here. This is what I said before, somewhere there's something about money, because for a love reading you have 2 of Pentacles, which is a strong Pentacles card. You know, it talks about really sort of being in flux, you know, and a lot of changes coming in. You know, you're having to juggle a lot and it feels really emotional. It's not easy, right? And so there's something going on with finances that's really affecting you. And that's the energy that you're kind of, and this could be also because you're unsure about this connection. It could be because your financial situation is really up in the air in January, right? And so you don't know what you're going to do with your own situation. So this is really also impacting what how you're going to be feeling about this, right? About a particular love connection that you're trying to solidify and that you're trying to, rebalance, certainly. Or at least, like I said, remember, justice could be for some of you. You may be waiting for some event to come in that's going to allow you to sort of have this Four of Wands. And it could very well be that this January, you're still not sure what the outcome is going to be with this moon energy. And so there's a lot of financial issues you're having to juggle. That could be one of the things that you're waiting for with this Justice card, some kind of event that's going to impact you financially and therefore impact your ability to have this love connection. You round out the month with the Ace of Swords as your hopes and dreams, and you round off your ultimate sort of outcome is Six of Pentacles. So clarity is what you want. You want to know what's going on, right? You want to get clarity and you want to be vindicated. And I think you want to be able to understand what happened. Something happened along the line with this connection, or there is some unknown factor here with this connection. And I think the finances is a huge part of it. Not knowing if you're going to have the finances to be able to sort of have this connection for whatever reasons. Sometimes money impacts our ability to be with somebody. If it's a long distance relationship or if there's other families involved or whatever, Six of Pentacles talks about the ability to give, right? So you do round your month off feeling very sort of charitable and benevolent, right? There's a real harmony with your finances coming in. And I think that this is sort of the good news that comes in a sense, is that you're right back to feeling where you want to feel. Because Two of Pentacles is a lot of change, whereas Six of Pentacles, you begin to understand, you everything's even out. You know what I mean? It's another set of scales. So we have two sets of scales in the reading. So we're talking about a lot of rebalancing. It could very well be that by the end of the month, the decision is made, the rendering comes in or whatever, because you start your attitude off that you come into the month with is moon energy. But by the end of the month, it could be that once that this decision has come in or once this rebalancing has happened, you're much more comfortable with your finances and you're feeling much more confident. And that's going to impact whether or not this love connection for you happens, I think, or is able to sort of go to the level that you want it to be. I'm just going to pull a few cards and then we're going to call it. It's a really interesting reading, as always, for you Scorpios. Show me for January for Scorpio. Four of Wands again. Prince of Wands. A lot of fire. High Priestess. Eight of Cups. There's your moon again for the second time. So there you go, right? It's a real feeling of a test coming in this month. This entire month feels like a real test. Your moon has shown up twice. Your Four of Wands have shown up twice. So this is a test about a particular love connection, soulmate connection that feels really strong for you. And, there's a test there. It could be that you may be together and you're being tested, or you may have already, the relationship may have already sort of gotten very much out of balance. And this month you're thinking really about all of this, right? Letting go of all of this baggage. This was baggage perhaps you may have brought into the relationship. Page of Swords again. Let's cover it. So if we talk about the clarifiers, we have Ten of Swords and a Four of Wands. So this new completion, this connection has really shown an end to your suffering. So this love connection is one of the reasons why you even got to a Ten of Swords and sort of resonated higher through this new love. Right? But yet, I think somewhere along the line, the imbalance was there, perhaps. Or perhaps going forward, there is an issue still. But this love connection is one of the reasons that you came to the end of this sort of period of time in your life. Page of Swords is covered with the Prince of Wands. In the Thoth deck, the Prince of Wands is the same as the Knight of Wands. So again, we talk about this new idea of thinking and you really also beginning to follow your heart, So, the Page of Knights is all heart driven. His force comes through his passion, right? And the heart in the sense of, his passions, the things something that he truly loves. I think you really love this person that you have this Four of Wands with. And, so you're not afraid, right? You're not having any self-doubt. You're kind of getting rid of all of this sort of negative energy, perhaps maybe that has been plaguing you, either by your own head or by those around you, and you are absolutely following your heart this month. And part of that could very well be going after this connection or trying to solidify this connection. A Six of Wands is here with the High Priestess. And that talks about very much a feeling of having really known in the back of your mind, your intuition riding really high, having known that, the way things were going to go, or having known something about the fact that you would be vindicated or that you would have a victory, right? The High Priestess also indicates that part of the way to your victory is to follow your intuition, right? So if you didn't know before, if now, your intuition is beginning to tell you what you need to do, listen to it. Listen to your gut, in other words, right? Listen to the inner voice in your head, and whatever that's telling you to do, because right now, Page of Swords, again, is such a strong feeling of trying to fight away sort of any kind of doubt, right? And so the fact that the Page of Swords is there means that at some point there was doubt, right? Because now you're really fighting, you're strong enough to fight against it. And it just seems to suggest a whole new way of you sort of thinking about things, especially with a Ten of Swords, because that's a whole new way. This is the end and the beginning of a whole new you, Scorpio. So these are kind of fairly intensive cards to have on either side of a love connection like this. And this is what makes me feel like it's something that still needs some work. And then we have here Eight of Cups and a Four of Cups. So Eight of Cups is all about realizing that you've been pouring all this energy into cups that aren't worth it, and that you desire to have a higher relationship, a higher standard in your relationship, a higher level that you communicate at, that you communicate with people who are up to your level, right? And it could be a lot of this in the past that led up to this Ten of Swords was perhaps you having these relationships, right? And so it makes sense. Like I said, Four of Cups is like you putting that attitude into action and saying, look, I'm not really ready to take any cup of love unless I know what comes with it. I'm not ready to sort of just pick up anybody, because I'm Eight of Cups. I've given that up. I'm trying to stop, stop sort of giving my golden cup, and pouring my heart out into cups made out of tin and copper. And that's what the indication is here. You can see the lotus blossoms. They pour their love over into these kind of chipped cups, cheap cups. The handles are broken. The metal is cheap, and yet the lotus blossom is continuing to pour and pour and pour and pour. And yet nothing is coming back. The water is dark and stagnant, and it's just this is what we mean by Eight of Cups. This is why 8 is also the number for boundaries and strength. It's the strength to sort of put boundaries in place and to stop that, to stop having your love just pour over into people. And this is the card for stopping people from draining your energy as well. That's why we associate Eight of Cups with turning your back on relationships with people who have drained sort of your energy, who constantly take from you and you get nothing back from them. So it makes perfect sense that you're trying to maintain your stability here. With a Four of Cups now, you're saying, I'm not just taking this next cup, And this could be somebody coming in for you at the end of the month, because this Four of Wands is clearly not that type of relationship. So this is why I'm curious. This Four of Wands in connection that you have it's almost as if you're in love with somebody, Scorpio, and yet you're still kind of working on yourself. And then towards the end of the month, you're tested with some other person who comes in, or a couple of people who come in, because you attract a lot of people. And normally where you would just mess around with them perhaps, or just get into that again, it's like this time you're saying no, because your mind is firmly fixed on this connection here. which is a true soulmate connection that you have with someone. And so this is the cause of a lot of this testing here, because the moon is testing you this month to see if you really have what it takes to make this work, or are you going to sort of go back to this kind of energy where you don't work on yourself. You know what I mean? This is all about you really staying the course and working on yourself and being positive, following your heart, letting go of that fear, letting go of this shit that the baggage and trauma from the past, and just cutting that so you can move forward stronger, right? All of that is like what you need to be paying attention to. And you have this testing phase here with the moon energy. And I think that this is going to be a heavy month for you to try to figure out, like, what is it that you really want, and are you really ready to sort of work for that? Are you ready to sort of test the times for it, with that moon? Because right now, not everything is revealed. The sun is here also at the bottom of the deck, and ultimately clarity will come in this month for you, and there will be room for progress and growth in this connection. But just remember, right now, you don't see the full picture, and really following your heart and following your intuition is the best bet for you to have your victory, rather than sort of going back to this. All right, Scorpio, this is your reading. It took a little longer as usual, because it always takes a little longer for your readings. But in any case, I do love reading for you guys, and I do hope you have a wonderful January. Check out your other readings that are linked in the description. If you enjoyed this, please like it. Leave me a comment if you can, or subscribe if you want to subscribe if you're new to my channel. These are what their monthly readings are like. Mid-month, I do a love checkup, and it may resonate with this reading, or it may be for a different Scorpio. If you want to get a private reading, go ahead and follow the link at your top of your screen. Tarot Answers is a good service I do, where I just provide a 10-minute recorded answer to one of your questions, and that's like a same-day turnaround, but it's a good way for you to see if you're interested in getting like a full personal reading. All right, guys, for right now, Scorpio, you know how much I love you. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.